time to look at the photographic exhibition, and I know that you'll look some more, but now that we're all here, I think it's time to get started. We'll start with an acknowledgement of country, and I'll invite Alexander Wilesman up to do the acknowledgement of country. Alexander, thank you.
On these, the lands of the first peoples, it is with profound respect that we acknowledge the spirit of the elders past, today's elders and emerging leaders, to the east, west, north and south, surrounded by the great oceans, seas, rivers, creeks and streams, under the southern skies and the celestial heavens, always forever acknowledging that they continue to be the custodians, and having nurtured their lands for over 60,000 years, they are and forever will be the oldest continuous culture on Mother Earth, on these lands of the first peoples.
Thank you, Alexander. And I'll start with some formal acknowledgements because that's important. Jacqueline Wagner, who will be the star tonight really, plus all the people who are in the photographs themselves. Jacqueline will be able to tell more of the story, but I'd firstly like to acknowledge Joe Halen, Minister for Transport, and Yasmin Catley, Minister for Police and Counter-Terrorism, Kate Washington, Minister for Families and Communities and Minister for Disability Inclusion, Trish Doyle, Parliamentary Secretary for Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Heritage, and also Jenny Aitchison, Minister for Regional Transport and Roads. Are there any other ministers here I've missed? I can't quite see. And also I'd like to acknowledge with us tonight Dominique Perrottet, member for Epping and former Premier, and he's had quite a role to play in this photographic exhibition, and Ben Franklin, MLC former Minister for Arts. He also has had a role in the exhibition, and I'm glad that they could be here. Jacqueline was delighted. And Sue Higginson, and Sue's from Lismore, so one of my close colleagues, parliamentary colleague, member of the Legislative Council. And are there any other MPs here?
Emily Savall.
Who?
Emily Savall.
Where's Emily? Oh, hi, Emily. Emily Savall, member of the Legislative Council, and I have Jonathan O'Day, the Speaker. He is still the Speaker until we meet next week, but he's still the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. And Mark Webb, he's like the CEO of the Parliamentary Services, and through Mark, all of the staff who've been associated with helping this happen. And Helen Minikin, the Clerk of the Parliament. Helen's here somewhere. I saw her earlier. I know she's here. And through Helen, all of the staff of the Parliament who made this happen. And I have also Steve Krieg, the Mayor of Lismore. So it's wonderful to have you here, Steve. It's really important given the nature of this exhibition. And I will invite you at some stage to say a few words. So please make sure. Now, other acknowledgements that I want to give, Kinsley Mundy and the IAS, Fine Art Logistics, and 3 team members, and they're the transport company who carried the cost of delivered works to Parliament, returned them to Lismore, and they were on the ground in Lismore in the days and weeks following the disaster. So thank you to them. Ashley Ralph, manager of, where's Ashley? Oh, Ashley couldn't come. Apologies, Lucy Kinsley. I just saw Lucy's hand. She's little like me, so she's over there. And Lucy, she's the manager of the Richmond Tweed Libraries, and Lucy and a team house the images, and they'll return to their premises for storage until a suitable venue is found. Brett Adlington, where's Brett? Brett's the CEO of New South Wales museums and galleries. Brett stored the 25 images from the November exhibition in his office at the Rocks and did a lot more, but Brett is also a local, so it's good to have Brett here. I know he's here somewhere, I've talked to him. Jenny Dell. Jenny's a wordsmith and journalist who's worked on the text and the caption edits for the November and this May exhibition, as well as the book, and you'll hear more about the book from Jacqueline. And James Murray, the Managing Director, Nikon Australia, he sponsored half the book publication costs, and he's accompanied with the Nikon National Sales Manager, Tony Cameron, and John Patterson from Camera House Lismore, because he's part of all of that too. And I just want to say a big call out to them. Jennifer Kavanagh, she's Jacqueline's dear friend of 60 years since primary school in Orange. Jennifer's sponsored the other half of the book publication, and she tripped over mine as well. I'm just glad you didn't get hurt, Jennifer. You were so taken in by the photos.
All right, I would have sued you.
That's what I was thinking. And Dr. Chris Ingle, who during a catch-up phone call with Jacqueline planted the seed for Jacqueline getting some images together and sending the images with the mayor to Sydney, and the mayor delivered that to the then Premier, Dom Perrottet, and Chris Ingle. He's our local paediatrician, but a lot more. He housed the mayor and his family for many months following the disaster. It went on for a long time, didn't it, Steve? You were there.
9 of the best months of my life.
9 of the best months, because Steve got flooded like a lot of people here as well. Chaz Glover, who featured in the exhibition, he's been absolutely invaluable, as Jacqueline says, in the installation of November when we had the 25 and now the May exhibition. And as Jacqueline says, she couldn't have done it without him. And Chaz also was impacted. And I did mention John Patterson. He printed he's a manager of the new camera house in Lismore, and he also got smashed in the flood. He printed the images and will be involved in the distribution of the book. And he's like a lifetime to everyone in our area, as Jacqueline says, for any connection with photography. And we have Jacob Wagner. Is he here yet? Yep. Jacqueline's son and Jacqueline's husband, Liam, he's here, and he's been obviously couldn't escape any of this and has been helping all the way through. 3 businesses, graffiti design, and I've mentioned the new camera house, Lismore Printery, and were all smashed in the flood, lost everything, and they've all been really active in this. Jacqueline will talk more about the book, but now I just want to mention the exhibition subjects in the words of Jacqueline, because it is a photographic exhibition. Judy, Arpana and Graham Askey, please put your hands up. Judy and Graham over there. And look, I could tell you a story about everyone, but I won't be able to do that tonight. But I remember being told by Graham about Judy getting taken out of her house on a jet ski. And he tells it, you know, it was terrible, of course, but he tells it with humour. And Karen Keaton, Robert Farlow, and Robert's just here beside me, and his dog Molly was rescued, but sadly lost Molly some time after, but not from the flood. Vicky and Mark Youngbury, and Vicky's also done her own photographic book of the flood itself. It's beautiful. It's sitting on my desk in my Lismore office. Chaz Glover, whom I mentioned, Emma Horner and daughter Peyton, John and Leonie Deleuze, Harper Dalton Earls. Harper's in the photographic exhibition, and I'm losing my Harry to Sydney, and Harper's coming on board, so he's also staff, just started. Victoria and Val Lane, Victoria Baker, Kirsty Medina, Amunda Nelson, Kerry and Phil Thompson and their daughter Jessica. And is Marion here? Marion Conroy? Marion's here as well. So I know that was quite a few acknowledgements and I may have missed someone. I've missed James O'Brien. James is here from ABC. James is recording, videoing, and I think will be on air tomorrow, James. Yeah, and James is Lismore. Well, he doesn't live there anymore, but James is Lismore. Some of his family are here, and they're in the photo. Sing out, Michelle. So there's more, and they're in the photographic exhibition. So there's a lot of people who are quite connected in some way to Lismore, to the Northern Rivers, to what happened. I'll just say a few more words and hand over. What Jacqueline's done, and I explained it today in some media. I said it's just exquisite, yet it's very evocative, this exhibition, and she's, in a sense, laid local lives bare, and people who've been willing to share their stories of the flood, and it engulfed us physically, psychologically, economically, emotionally, and it disturbed the daily rhythm of our lives, the ordinary things we do that make up our lives, that we take for granted. It just disturbed all of that. It displaced many. Many are still displaced today. And this exhibition tells some of their stories. And Jacqueline has always been a brilliant photographer, photojournalist, and she, through her lens, we see what I call the carnage, but we also see the hope. And that's really important, because that's what we all hang on to, but not sort of hope, just saying we hope it works, but all of us working together to make sure that it works. And it's just wonderful to be able to have this, and it's a history of, a part of the history of the things that have happened. And it's really nice to have the children here, so you're most welcome, and dressed beautifully. I can see you all dressed up for the occasion, so that's just really lovely. And before I hand over to you, Jacqueline, can I call on the Mayor, Steve Krieg, to say a few words? And then, Dominique, are you still here? Yeah, and I'm going to ask Dom to say a few words as well, okay? Thank you. Steve?
Thank you, Mel. And I don't know about you, but the first time I came to Parliament House was about this time 12 months ago. And I happened to be here for another meeting, and I was walking through this foyer, and there was a group of Chinese businessmen, I think, were here, and they, oh, the Mayor of Lismore's here, come and say something. And the funniest thing I've ever seen, there was a group of politicians talking, and the MC of that meeting said you've only got 2 minutes each, and to restrict a politician to 2 minutes of talking is impossible. So, and none of them stuck to their time, but I'll try and stick to 2 minutes. But Janelle, your work often goes unheralded and unnoticed by the majority of people, but on behalf of the residents of Lismore, I know what you do, and you have been a pillar of strength for our community. And it really has been amazing that we had a Liberal Premier 12 months ago, a Labor member, and I ran as the Mayor as an independent, and a National Party federal member, Sue Higginson's in the Greens, who was also newly elected to the upper house. We had the full gamut, the full rainbow of political views, but none of it mattered, and to this day it doesn't matter. We are all in there fighting continuously day in, day out to get the best outcome for our city, because it is, as you could all attest, it is the most wonderful place on earth to live. We've been hit by what was the 4th biggest, I think, natural disaster in the world last year, and no community can recover from that quickly, and we've got a long way ahead. And it's so heartening for me to see so many beautiful people from my hometown here tonight to celebrate the work of Jacqueline. And my 2 minutes are up, but can I just quickly acknowledge not only the former Premier, but who I consider a good mate now, Dom Perrottet, took Lismore to his heart when he first came up, and I'll never forget our first meeting. I said, mate, I don't know you, but you're going to walk into the emergency evacuation centre. I said, you're going to get covered in shit, literally, but don't back down. And that man was an absolute trooper. He hugged every single person that came up to him. Excuse my language, kids, but there was one stage there that I actually had to step in front of a cameraman and tell him to F off, because, you know, he is a true humanitarian. Regardless of political persuasion, his heart and soul were with our community, and hopefully still are. So everything you've done, Don, thank you. And also, while I've got the microphone in my last 25 seconds, I can't leave here without thanking the person that housed myself and my family. 3 young daughters, took us under their roof for nearly 9 months, and just unbelievably good friends and very dear people. Dr. Chris Ingle, who, that's how I got to meet Jacqueline. We were literally staying at home, and I don't know, we would have come to some sort of, I don't know, but I remember Jacqueline and I sitting down at Chris's house going through the photos and saying, we've got to do something, and she gave me 2 tasks. Get one to the Premier, get one to the Prime Minister. Our Premier at the time has done amazing work. I'm not keeping this political, but our Prime Minister, I haven't heard from him since, but he might have bigger plans yet. I don't know. But again, you know, Jacqueline, you're an amazing person, and you know, these people probably wouldn't have been in the photographs if you weren't the person that you are. So again, on behalf of our city, thank you for everything that you've done.
Thanks, Steve. And the Prime Minister did fund half of the Resilient Homes program, okay? And I know, because I've got to say something there. To someone I've known since he was a teenager, okay, and more. But look, I want to call Dom Perrottet to come and say a few words. And can I say something, that when Jacqueline wanted to show this here, and there's all costs involved, you know, and everyone's donated, and Jacqueline has, I have, we all have, but I said to Dom, I want $10,000 out of your discretionary fund, and he joked, and I joked with him, I said it might make it sort of the Labor quota come up a bit if you give it through me. First one. I got one out of Thule too. That was harder. And also Ben Franklin, I got $10,000 out of Ben, and Ben was their Minister for the Arts, and he's a local, so he's one of our locals. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thanks, Dom. Over to you.
Thanks, Janelle. I was meant to be retiring from public speaking, but if there's an event I'd speak at, it would certainly be this one. And I also want to acknowledge Janelle for the work that she did. And I had the great privilege to see that every single time I was in the Northern Rivers, and the dedication and the heart that she had to make sure over that period of time that everyone got through. And as she knows, and as Steve knows too, who I work very closely with Steve, during that period is a long way to go, and that the impact of what I saw in Lismore when I came out, I said, will stay with me forever. And the sights on the day and the devastation, from my perspective, was apocalyptic, and I've never seen anything like that in my life, and hopefully never will again. But as I've said a few times, what really stood out to me, despite all that devastation, was just the strength and resilience of the community, and that generosity and spirit of service through all of that destruction, through all of that pain and suffering, and people who lost absolutely everything, and whether it was their homes, their businesses, but through all of that difficulty, the fact that people just came and looked after each other and left their own homes to save others, and that is the true Australian spirit. And it's through difficult times that the best of I think people's characters come out. And I had the wonderful opportunity, from my perspective, as Premier of the state, to witness that. And throughout the entire time of my premiership, that's the thing that will stay with me more than anything else. Not the devastation, but the great people of the Northern Rivers in Lismore, and what I saw in their character and in their selflessness and spirit of service during that period of time. And to Jacqueline, for capturing it all. And for, at that time, in all of that devastation and pain and grief and suffering, to take the leadership to go out there and take pictures would have been a really difficult thing as well, to go into people's homes, to go into businesses at a time. And Steve Creek spoke about the devastation, and he was right to get the cameras away, because often I say about the media, they're always there for the negative story, but the pain that people were going through, sometimes that privacy needs to be given. But what you've captured here, to go in there and see it so that those people can tell their story. And one thing's words and one thing's history, but to actually capture it the way that you have is phenomenal. And I know that will make a real impact and ensure that people realise that this is certainly a long way from over. There's a lot more work for governments to do at both a state and federal and council level, but I'm sure they will. And when Steve came in that day, I'm not sure who Steve was with that day, but he just walked straight into the office. I was in a meeting with someone, and he brought in those pictures and those photos, and I started showing them all to everybody. And Jacqueline, obviously, as I said, whatever we could have done to help you do this, not for you, but for your legacy, for the people of Lismore. And it's I'm very proud to have played a small role in that. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Dom. And now it's over to you, Jacqueline. Yeah, so you can tell the story.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone. And the main people I really want to thank are everybody who's graced these walls. I didn't know where it would end up. I knew it was important to do, and everybody understood that. These were all cold calling, whoever was at home, and nobody said, you know, can I put my best frock on or anything like that. They were just all... They actually... No, they actually understood. They understood. And I assured everyone it wasn't about just the individuals. It was about a body of work, and it was important. It was important historically. And what I was really interested in was not about anything about insurance or politics. I was probably after what was going on here. And they were taken between the 3rd and the 16th week. Many people cried, and many actually cried for the first time. And you could see it came over them, and they went, I don't know where that came from. And it was actually quite a privilege to be there. And went, that's cool. And they'd gather themselves, and off we'd go. It was very simple. I used my Nikon camera, one Nikon lens, a notepad and a pen. Same ones all the time. No lights. Some places I took 10 shots. Some I took a few more. There wasn't a lot of fiddling around. And I've kept in touch with them all. So I made an email, and every minor thing. I've probably driven everyone crazy. My talk at the Rotary Club and whatever. And I've done the same with this. But I think that has been really important. Often people didn't get back, but they got them. And they have been really grateful that they've been in touch, because I think this is their body of work. It's been incredibly organic, and it's happened in really odd ways with connections. Steve and Chris, and a phone call, a letter from Dominic, which I kind of went, yep, that's my chance to kind of push forward with this. My meeting with Janelle at the markets, where I went, Janelle, bailed her up like everybody does. And we went forward with that. Ben, who actually backed up those 2 grants. From those 2 grants, I have been able to do the November exhibition. I have done all of this, and I think that has actually given a great deal of prestige to the work. IAS Transport, and Kingsley I haven't actually met. Oh, there he is, we'll talk later. Came on board, and they have transported, that's huge, that's so huge. The library, yeah. a chance meeting ran into Lucy in a car park and said, how's it going? And I just got to find somewhere to store these images. No problem. We've got a spare room, which we've done. The same time when my husband and I were packing the images over several weeks, another woman from New South Wales Gallery came there. I have an appointment with them the day before I pack it up, and they're going to it's going to be permanent and I actually don't think that's the end of it. Like, I think there'll be just more legs, and Sue Higgins is nodding her head.
Yeah.
Yep, I reckon that it's going to go further than that. The other thing is, what's happened since is I went into John Patterson's office one day and I went, I think I'd like a book. And how about we get in touch with, you know, because I do love Nikon, and we've been with me. And that happened. So James Murray, who's here, and independently, I didn't ask her, my beautiful friend of over 60 years, Jennifer, have both contributed equally, and we have a book. I actually have some books here, and it's being printed next week. And what's happening is the 3 businesses in town benefit from the sale of the books. And the icing on the cake is that I've got Janelle here, who has just been, who is just so respected and so loved. You are really loved, Janelle.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I have Dominic here, who I think he saw what I saw, and it twigged, and that's a great thing. And Ben here, who topped up that. I can give the 3 of you the first books. I've actually got them here. So I'd like you to come up and I can present you an award. For everybody else, please take in. We have to leave here by a certain time because it costs too much. But I think everyone should really take the opportunity to get photos with their photos. Like anyone who's near you with it, get them your phone or whatever. But and I've got 3 little cards here, which I went to Dimmicks, and they look like children's thank you cards, but they had a heart on the front. Oh. So Janelle, this is for you.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
And Dominic, this is for you. Thank you very much. And then this is for you. And I definitely, at the first exhibition, I definitely felt that I could hear it from behind me, and I heard Dominic swoop past and say, is there a book? And I went, oh, not to me. And I thought, right. It's going to happen. So in terms of, and the other thing is, like, in terms of, we missed a great opportunity tonight. I got a phone call from Channel 9 National News that they were going to come and film the opening, and the interest rates went up. So we got knocked off the perch. But anyway.
Got ABC.
I also have some books for IAS, my Kingsley, who I haven't actually met. Have you, Kingsley?
Well done.
Hello, Kingsley, and James Murray. You'll be getting some more. And my beautiful friend Jennifer. This is for you. I love you, Jill. And Jenny Dill, who from A Labour of Love. Where's Jenny? Yeah. Thank you, sweetheart. Oh, that's okay. And I do have one. Not here. I've run out because they only printed so many. They got them here just a parcel. And I didn't want you to have to drag a book around you because we're partying on. So Lucy, and so I will bring one to you. and the library as well, and I'll come and see you individually in Lismore. And
we've already ordered 3 anyway.
no, you still no. This will be yours. This is yours. This is yours. But I hope I haven't forgotten anybody. Oh, and Steve, I'm going to bring you yours as well. Like, I just haven't got any more. And I'll say, oh well, yeah, that's a dilemma. But and my family, I've got my daughter came from Melbourne, and my grandchildren, and my son helped, and you can probably all have a look at the books. Lots of people, the people who are in the exhibition are getting the books for cost. Okay, so and it's quite prestigious, I think. But anyway, thank you. Enjoy. Okay, there's plenty of time to take photos.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacqueline. And yeah, we've got time to mingle and look at photographs and get some photos taken as well with us, Jacqueline, the books, everybody, and yourself. If you're in the photograph there, do that. And Jonathan, do you remember Lucy? Yes. I just thought I should connect because you brought the books up to the library, so in the back of your car, sloshed around the offices. And look, everybody just enjoy the rest of the night, and within a half an hour, around 7:30, we'll all start to leave the building, okay? Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Good night.